Hello lovelies! Welcome back to my channel. This week I will be working on the petticoat for the 18th century Sarah Sanderson costume. So for this costume, I will have a red petticoat underneath the dress, and the skirts of the dress are going to be the dark purple, as well as a little bit of that like light colored, I think it's called cashew is the silk that I bought, but it's very light colored, beigey type fabric. So the red petticoat is made out of a silk taffeta from Silk Baron. I will link it below. I hope you like this video, and if you are still interested in helping support my costume of making Glinda's bubble dress from the musical Wicked, I still do have a Ko-fi goal, which I will link down below, as well as anyone that subscribes to my Patreon will also get their name in the dress. I have started receiving some of the items that I've purchased for this, and I'm just going to say this right now, y'all. It's going to be beautiful. And then the last thing I just had to say was we hit 5,000 subscribers on this channel.
Yes, queen! Yes, queen! Yes, queen!
And I just really can't thank you all enough for spending your sewing or like in between time hanging out with me while I make costumes. It really means a lot to me, and just thank you all so much for being here. All right, let's make a petticoat. So this is the pattern that I'm using for the petticoat. This is the American Duchess Simplicity pattern. If you have their 18th century dressmaking book, you can also get this pattern in it too. We're just going to use these two pieces. This is the center front and center back, and this is the side and back, or like side front and side back pieces. And I'm going to press these, press my fabric, and then cut everything out and French seam everything up so that I can get it flat and start figuring out the design, like the details I want to do on it. So really my goal for today is to obviously get these cut out, French seamed up, prepped for the pocket slits, and then figure out, and then hand sew the whole hem and figure out the design placement. I'm gonna do the whole like here on this. If you see, like typically the designs only go so far onto the front, like it doesn't actually go all the way around, which is kind of nice. So we're gonna do something similar with this. Oh, I should show you the fabric. So if you know Sarah's costume well, I'll show a picture of the costume on exhibit. There's this red fabric with some like detailing in the front. So this is our fabric for it. This is a silk taffeta from Silk Baron. I don't remember this exact color, but I will find it for you and put it in the comments description. This is going to be the color for this, and then I'm making a bottom kind of like ruffle that will have bows in it, and the bows that we make for this will be prototype for the bows that go on the sides of the dress as well, and that will all get explained when we get there. I'd also like to add some kind of sparkle or something to this like I've done with the bodice, but we will just get there when we do. So that's the plan. Let's do it. Okay, friends, so I have made a mistake. Past Casey from a year ago when I ordered this fabric only ordered 4 yards. 4 yards is plenty for just an underskirt with a little bitty bit of decoration. I really wanted to make this petticoat and then put from like this point to the bottom, which is around 20 inches, a fun little decorative flouncy flounce looking thing on the top. And with the amount of fabric I have, because I have to cut 2 of these out still, like one on the fold here and then one on the fold again, I will not have anywhere near enough. So I just ordered 2 yards of this, and hopefully it will get here this week for this video. And if it does not, the rest of this video will be about taking apart the bodice that we talked about last week and refitting it and fixing it. If it does arrive though, we'll get right back to this. So with that being said, my plan right now is to cut this last piece out. Well, I have 2 more pieces. Cut these 2 pieces out, French seam them all together in one nice little circular handy dandy loop. And then we're gonna hand sew this hem. It is 1:30. I probably should have finished cutting this before lunch and then ordered the fabric before lunch. Not that it really matters that much, like an hour and a half doesn't really matter that much. But basically, once I get the hem done on this, I'm gonna switch gears and work on the bodice until my new fabric shows up. To make a French seam, you have to sew the fabric wrong sides together, press and trim the excess seam down, and then turn the fabric right sides together and press and sew the fabric together, encasing the edges in the seam. I broke this task up into a front half and back half that each consisted of 3 panels. Once those halves were done, I could French seam them together up until the marking where a slit is made so that you can get the petticoat on and off. Okie dokie, so I'm kind of calling it for the day because I have D&D tonight, but I basically pressed all of these hems so they're ready to be hand sewn, which I will do during our session. And then I'll just show you for the side seams. Basically, I still have a little bit more work to do. I did my French seam, which you'll see here, and then I clipped it about this much so that I can roll this in. And also Silk Baron, bless them, they've already shipped my fabric. I ordered it 4 hours ago, and they've already sent me a shipping label, so hopefully that'll come Friday, and I can get this done before the week is up. But I'll check in with you tomorrow. I would actually love to know what kind of podcasts you're listening to or what you're watching or, that kind of stuff. I've been sharing what I watch weekly with y'all, so I figured maybe y'all could share some with me. Tell me what you're listening to, what you're working on, and I will talk to you in a little bit. It's time. All of that hard work we are going to rip apart and fix. So let's get into what needs to be done to make this bodice fit me. The first thing that has to be done is I'm taking both sleeves off. Then in order to do that, I have to seam rip the lining stitches that I did by hand, followed by the running stitches that I did to attach the sleeve to the bodice. Once the sleeve is completely detached, I need to take it completely apart. That starts with the basting stitch at the top of the sleeve, which will take out the lining to the fashion fabric. Then I need to turn the lining outside, wrong side out, and undo the stitching for that, so that the lining is now a completely different piece from the fashion fabric. Then I can take my little flounce off, and then I can undo the inner seam on this piece. And once that is done with both sleeves, I will go into the bodice and take the side. Once I've done that to the bodice, I will take out this side back piece essentially and move it over 1/4 of an inch for both the fashion fabric and then the lining. And to do that in the lining, I have to actually take out the boning channels, set those aside, and then take out that whole panel, move it over 1/4 of an inch, and then we'll start the resewing process. So we got quite a bit of work to do. All right, so I literally have this piece and this piece of silk left, and I'm just going to sew this in this seam, and then I'm gonna do the same on this side to connect them all, and hopefully that will fix this problem. Basically, if I do it on 1/2 inch seams, that it will be basically a 1/2 inch added to the inside. This allows me space to be able to take it on and off, and I have some of this scraps in my in my scrap bin that I'm going to do for the exact same thing. We're doing this one sleeve at a time and one half at a time so that I can keep track of everything and don't accidentally sew the wrong sleeve onto the wrong side. All right, so this sleeve fits so much better. I don't know if you can see the seam in here, just that little extra strip right here. But like, I can move my arm around, baby. I can get my arm into my sleeve. Okay, so now I do need to, though, take out a little bit more in the bodice area. Again, for the bodice, if it overlaps an extra half an inch or 1/4 of an inch, that's not going to kill me. Not being able to get it on will break my heart. So let's do it. Hello friends! So Silk Baron came through for us and my 2 yards of this arrived. So we are going to, here is our finished hem on our skirt. It is stunning. Oh my gosh, gorge. Oh, I'm too hyped right now. I just ate lunch, so I have a lot of energy. Okay, so basically I need to decide where on my fabric I want the decorative or ruffle to start. And then I need to measure how many inches above that, or not start, to be attached. And then how many inches above that do I want it? And basically how wide I want it. And then that's what we're doing. So today I'm basically gonna be making a big giant ruffle, gathering down the top once the ruffle is attached, and putting a bias tape waistband on it because I'm gonna just be making my waistband out of bias versus I don't think I have any twill. I will check to see if I have any like twill tape that will work. I don't want to use ridiculously wide twill tape again because if y'all remember when I was making my 18th century Scarlet Witch, I used ridiculously wide twill tape and it just is a pain in my butt, okay? It's just a pain in my butt. So we might just stick to bias. But anyway, once I've made the ruffle, gathered that down, added the bias tape to it, we can pop it up on my dress form and take a look at it and admire it. And then I can start making the bows that are gonna be the decorative bows that will go along the ruffle, and I will explain that when we get there. So with all of that being said, it is 11:39 right now, and I would like to get all of that done by 6 p.m. I started off by measuring two 20-inch strips across the width of the fabric. Then I used my foam template that I made from the template provided in the American Duchess pattern to draw the scalloped edges. With my scalloped pinking shears, I trimmed around those edges. Then I was able to sew the strips together with a French seam to make one long continuous strip of fabric. Eva does not like the steaming that is happening downstairs because my partner is steaming our curtains. So she has maintained this spot here as close to me as possible. I was standing right there. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about what I've been doing. Okay, so basically, I went ahead and sewed these two strips together, but what I did was, because I didn't want a seam right in the center front of my skirt, I cut one panel in half, so you can see it here, and then I French seamed it to the other panel, and then the other half is like draped over there. And then I just marked a dashed line for like 3 inches, about 3 inches from the top. This is eventually going to get turned and pressed and hand stitched down and gathered. We're not there yet because I was rewatching the movie on Friday night and I noticed something odd. And I thought that this thing was in one scene, one very famous scene, I put a spell on you scene, but it is in fact in several scenes of the movie. And this detail that to me is so utterly important and just really soothes my soul is rhinestones. She has rhinestones. All three of them have rhinestones all over their costume. And throughout different scenes in the movies, movie, you can just see these weird pieces glistening like crazy. And you know what? I thought to myself, what does this costume just not have enough of already? Like, we've already finished one garment practically, and there's just not enough sparkle. So I'm going to do some sparkle. You're going to deal with it. I hope you don't hate me after this. Okay, so basically I made a prototype of one of these bows. This is, it starts at 5 inches by 3 inches, and this is just like cotton ahead of my stash to kind of get an idea of the size of bow that I want to make. Now I am making the bows out of my purple taffeta, which I know it reads really, really dark. It actually is really, really dark, and I'm actually 100% okay with that. I love the darkness of it. I think it's so pretty, but I'm gonna make them out of this. I don't know how many I'm gonna make yet. I was thinking 5, but I think actually what I'm going to do is pull out the skirt while this is still drying. I'm going to give this another hour to dry just because I can still see some like white right there. And to me, I know that the glue is dry when it's completely clear. So that is just like how I work. But I think I'm going to put this on the skirt and see like how many I can fit in that front panel, because we know that front panel is going to be like where the majority of the stuff is, and if I only need to make like 3 or 4, I'll do that. I do think though that, and I'll go into this when I actually start making this skirt, I do think that the bows that are going to be on this skirt are going to be a size bigger. So basically 6 inches by 4 inches versus 5 by 3. There is going to also be a little centerpiece in here, obviously not a clip, but I didn't need to make a full-on one. I just needed to kind of, you know. So the centerpiece is going to be on here, and then I'm also going to add rhinestones on these. So I'll probably do just like 4 or 5 along each side of them, just to have like a couple, like a little bit more glitz, because why not? I was thinking actually of using all black. I have black AB rhinestones that I would really like to use. So I think I'm going to use those. And now I guess, yeah, I'll start making them and show you how to make them. To make the bows, I started by cutting out 2 pieces of fabric 5 inches long by 3 inches wide. Then I cut out a piece of Power Boost lining to help give the bow some extra oomph, and I adhered that to one side of the bow. Then I attached the bows right sides together, leaving an opening so I could then flip them right sides out. But before flipping them, I did clip the corners and trim the excess seam allowance, and then once they were turned, I gave them a really good press. Now I can fold them into their bow shape and hand stitch them down. Then I wrap this centerpiece with a centerpiece of fabric and hand stitch that down, and they are ready to go. Okay, so I still need to add the little wraps around all of my bows, but I did get them sewn up last night before I went downstairs. So I have to do this and then get them attached to this skirt thing. But I also sewed up the kind of like gathered stitch back here. I have a video on how to do this, so I'm not going to really explain it in this video. I can link it below if you're interested. So now I'm going to press this open and get it pinned onto my skirt, and I have to sit down and hand sew it onto my skirt from there. And then I will be ready to add the bows and pleat the top down and add bias tape. I'd really like to get this done by 12:30 today. It's 9:46. We'll see how this goes, so I'll talk to you soon. Okay, I'm almost done. I just finished one of the pieces of bias, and I wanted to show you something that I did that I learned from Lady Rebecca Fashion's channel that is brilliant. Like just absolute brilliant. So bias is cut on the bias, right? Like that's the purpose of bias tape. The reason you cut it is so that it'll stretch, right? But if you put a straight stitch on your bias tape, you won't really get that much stretch. So I stitched this with my zigzag, and I get a really nice little bounce to it so that it can tie and whatnot. And I did the same here, but the top just stitched it down. So now I'm going to repeat this over on the other side. I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was really clever when Rebecca did it. And I also wanted to try it, and I also like it better. Like I think it's a better finish for my bias because I'm always that person that like gets my stitch line like too high up in the bias, and then like it'll unfold and unravel. But by doing a zigzag as well as the stretch aspect, it will cover like half of my piece, and so I won't have to sit there like finagling with getting it as close to the edge as possible. So I'm gonna add this strip. All that's left after that is to rhinestone the bows and hand sew those on. I will not be getting that done by 12:30, so I will have to do this, get it attached. I'm gonna throw it on the dress form, clean up my studio for my 1:30 interview, and then I'll get those bows hand sewed on and show some pretty worn footage. Sounds great? Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining me this week while I work on my 18th century Sarah Sanderson petticoat. Please join me next week as I finish the 18th century Sarah Sanderson project. And don't forget to head on over to patreon.com/CaseyReneeCosplay. That's my members only website where you can help support this channel and get exclusive content like early access to videos, monthly live streams, and access to our Discord channel. Thank you all so much for watching my videos and for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and comment below. Tell me what you're gonna dress as for Halloween. I wanna know. All right, until next time, may all your dreams come true.